Today, I want to take a closer look at two top AI stocks in the market. First, you guessed it, Nvidia, my number one semiconductor company and my number one position in my overall portfolio. The second one is Meta Platforms, a company we have discussed in this channel numerous times and before this crazy roundup, and one that we have always said has been a top AI stock to own. Now, Nvidia just released a pretty cool AI solution, and that's something we're going to take a closer look at. But also, during a recent keynote, Nvidia CEO said how Meta has recently done one of the greatest things for AI. So, we're going to take a closer look at all that in today's short episode. And by the end, we are also going to take a closer look at valuations for both these players. Welcome. For those not familiar, my name's Jose Najarro, and I spend way too much time reading about semiconductors and AI. But thanks to that, my education and work experience, I believe I have created the number one semiconductor podcast for investors. So let's get started with today's episode. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode. So the first thing I want to take a closer look at is Nvidia today announced Nvidia Chat with RTX, your personalized AI chatbot. And here, this kind of chat box is something interesting that Nvidia has released for the showcasing the power of its AI solutions to the consumer market and bringing AI to your local PCs. So the tech demo gives anyone with an RTX GPU the power of a personalized GPT chatbot. So the first thing we can see is, hey, look, this is somewhat of a competitor to some extent to OpenAI's ChatGPT, where you're paying $20 a month. Here, Nvidia is saying that, hey, look, we're going to show you how, but you can kind of use these kinds of AI solutions for free to some extent if you have our solutions, if you have our graphics cards in your laptop or in your desktop. So this could be a nice way where Nvidia continues to bring more incentives for people to go out there and buy Nvidia's graphics cards, and usually the higher end versions. So users can quickly and easily connect local files on a PC as a dataset to an open source large language models like Llama 2, enabling queries for quick, contextual, relevant answers. And they do mention that, hey, look, what's something about this? Rather than searching notes through saved content, users can simply type queries. So instead of spending hours or maybe even 20 minutes searching for the answer, now with this personalized chatbot, you'll be able to get the answer in pretty much seconds. So the great thing about this is, since RTX is running locally on your Windows and it's not running on the cloud, all the data stays on your device. What I also found that's pretty cool is this chat with RTX is kind of open source. So if you are a developer, you can kind of use a reference project here and create your own application using these solutions. And I think open source, to some extent, as we're going to see in a bit with Meta, open source is a great way to continue to get developers to build amazing applications on your solution. And if people are going to build some crazy apps out of this, you make it open source, and then what happens? This is running at the end of the day with optimized for NVIDIA GPUs and optimized for NVIDIA hardware. So if more developers develop on this platform, is people are going to be like, oh, that looks like a pretty cool application. Maybe I should go out there and buy me a laptop. Maybe I should go buy me a desktop with an NVIDIA GPU opposed to some other competitors out there. So this NVIDIA chat with RTX, I don't believe it's anything revolutionary that we're going to see in forms of revenue for the company's overall price, but I do believe it's in the right direction of innovation. It's also going to create maybe some small tailwinds for their consumer products, for their consumer GPUs, for their consumer laptops and workstations. For example, for me, anytime I'm looking now for a laptop or a desktop, I'm only personally looking for NVIDIA GPUs because they are always in the forefront here of this AI market. So if I want to make sure I'm in the forefront of it as well, I need to make sure that I do have an NVIDIA product. Also, if you watched the video yesterday, I talked about a recent keynote that Jensen, the CEO of Nvidia, was in. I actually post a lot of snippets on my Twitter, so make sure to follow me at _Jose Najarro, where I do believe I have over 5 to 6 snippets there where I showcase Nvidia CEO's thought process on AI and some of the revolutionary thinking something that he believes will happen within the next few years. Now, when I started this episode, I mentioned that Nvidia CEO said something amazing about Meta, and how Meta has recently done something important that kind of changed the overall AI market for the best. So let me kind of pull up a 5 second. So let me pull up the video really quick right now so you guys can see.
If you were to ask me the one single most important event last year and how it has activated AI researchers here in this region, it's actually Llama 2.
So pretty much, Jensen mentioned that Meta's platform's open source solution, Llama 2, has been a huge, huge push in the AI market and AI evolution, as AI as open source is definitely the best place to go in the future. And that got me thinking, because I remember listening to Meta's earnings call, and Mark Zuckerberg actually talked a lot about the open source solution. And just a quick step back, for those that are not familiar, Meta has a large language model called Llama 2. Llama 2 is an open source solution, and they pretty much say that it's a way to democratize access through an open platform featuring AI models, tools, and resources to give people the power to shape the next wave of innovations. The only time you would need some form of license or to pay it is for either research or commercial use. Now, this is very different from OpenAI's ChatGPT, and it's a competitor to ChatGPT. At the moment, ChatGPT is the number one large language model out there with the best results, but things are getting closer, as with open source solutions, you do have a lot more developers working on it and keeping your eyes on it. The Llama 2 is what Jensen was just talking about. And during here, I have the transcript here from Meta's earnings call. And Mark Zuckerberg talks about his playbook. And the second part of this playbook for overall growing their company is open source software infrastructure. Their overall strategy has been to build an open source general infrastructure, like we saw with Llama 2, and the upcoming Llama 3, and then keeping their specific product implementations proprietary. So then they have their own solutions as well that they don't give out to the public, right? That's not for open source domain. So many people might be wondering, why would Meta want to go with an open source approach? Didn't they use their hard-earned research, their hard-earned money, and hard-earned large amount of compute power to get these solutions? So the short answer is, first, open source improves their models. And right now, for their open source solutions or for their current models to become products, it's still a long way from now. And right now, if they don't become an open source solution, there's going to be another open source model out there, and there's plenty of open source large language models available right now anyways. And with open source, you get a lot of advantages. First is it's typically safer and more secure, as well as more compute efficient to operate due to all the ongoing feedback and all these developers taking a closer look at it. The second thing is open source often becomes an industry standard. And when companies standardize on building with their stack, then that becomes easier to integrate new innovations into their own products. And that is very important, right? What do I mean? So eventually, open source becomes kind of a normality, and everybody starts to develop with open source. And if that open source is made by Meta, Meta is able to see, hey, look, this is the way innovation and technology is moving. So since this is our technology, we can make our own products also move into this direction a lot faster and be a lot faster to market than some of our competitors. So we can definitely see that open source has its own kind of pros. And we can see why Nvidia, to some extent, when they are releasing certain AI solutions, they do release it in an open source mentality because they want to grab those same benefits that Meta just mentioned right now. So now, before I end this episode, I wanted to take a closer look at valuations at current prices. So Nvidia's right now, their forward PE ratio, which is the next 12 months, is sitting at 34.5. Nvidia's forward 1 year, which is the next 24 months, is sitting at 28.45. I personally don't think that's expensive, but like I mentioned in the past, me personally, I really wouldn't buy Nvidia big bulks right now. It would be very small dollar cost averaging over time, as this can be a highly volatile stock, especially as we come to earnings. But remember, Nvidia is my number one position, so I might have some form of dollar cost average bias to some extent. Now, Meta Platforms is another big position in my overall portfolio, and we can see Meta right now. Current PE ratio is 30, forward, which is the next 12 months, is 23, and forward 1 year, which is the next 24 months, is roughly 20. So Meta is also not that expensive, even with the crazy run up. So I do believe both these companies are sitting at very attractive values. Obviously, both have seen some crazy run ups, so everybody play these at your own risk to reward mentality. But I do believe Meta and Nvidia are going to continue to be some of the top AI companies going forward. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.